Fact 1. On the off chance that two bits of metal touch in space, they become for all time stuck together. This may sound amazing, yet it is valid. Two bits of metal with no covering on them will frame into one piece in the vacuum of room. This doesn't occur on Earth in light of the fact that the environment puts a layer of oxidized material between the surfaces. This may appear as though it would be a major issue on the space station, however, as most instruments utilized there have originated from Earth, they are as of now covered with material. Actually, the main proof of this seen so far has been in tests intended to incite the response. This procedure is called cold welding. Fact 2. Sunspot movement might be the essential purpose behind the wonderful sound of Stradivarius violins. Antonio Stradivari is viewed as the best violin creator ever. He lived in Italy in the 17th and 18th hundreds of years. Researchers have been not able to work out what it is about his violins that makes them so inconceivable, however they do realize that the timber used to make them is a significant contributing component. From the 1500s to 1800s, the Earth experienced a little ice age for the most part because of expanded volcanic action and diminished sun-powered action. Because of this cooling, the sorts of trees that Stradivari utilized for his violins were especially hard. Hard timber is particularly acceptable when making violins. It is truly likely that had Stradivari lived in an alternate age, his violins would not be prized as they are today. This image above is made of 3 covering photographs. It shows the rings in the tidy tree used to put the most on the map Stradivarius violin, the Savior. The principal line of numbers gives the width of each ring in millimeters. Fact 3. Earth has at least 4 moons. Okay, that isn't in reality obvious, yet it is close. In 1986, Duncan Waldron found a space rock, 5 kilometers over, that is in an elliptic circle around the Sun with a time of transformation for all intents and purposes indistinguishable from that of Earth. Therefore the planetoid and Earth have all the earmarks of being following one another. The occasional planetoid is named Cruithne after an antiquated gathering of Scottish individuals. In light of its unordinary relationship with Earth, it is some of the time alluded to as Earth's subsequent moon. Cruithne is fainter than Pluto and would require at any rate a 12.5-inch reflecting telescope to endeavor to be seen. Since its revelation, at any rate 3 other comparable space rocks have been found. These kinds of articles are likewise found in comparative connections to different planets in our solar system. In the picture over, the Earth is the blue hover with a cross in it, and Cruithne's circle is appeared in yellow. Fact 4. Uranus was originally called George's star. At the point when Sir William Herschel found Uranus in 1781, he was given the respect of naming it. He decided to name it Georgium Sidus, George's star, after his new supporter, King George III, Mad King George. This is the thing that he said: in the marvelous periods of antiquated occasions the designations of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn were given to the planets, just like the names of their head legends and divinities. In the current progressively philosophical period it would barely be reasonable to have plan of action to a similar technique and call it Juno, Pallas, Apollo, or Minerva, for a name to our new radiant body. The principal thought of a specific occasion, or exceptional episode, is by all accounts its order, if in any future age it ought to be asked, when this last discovered planet was found. It would be a good response to state, in the rule of King George III. Uranus was likewise the primary planet to be found with the utilization of a telescope. Fact 5. The Big Dipper is not a constellation, it is an asterism. Numerous individuals believe the large scoop to be a heavenly body at the same time. Actually, it is an asterism. An asterism is an example of stars in the sky which isn't one of the authority 88 heavenly bodies. They are likewise made out of stars which are not truly identified with one another and can be immense separations separated. An asterism can be made out of stars from at least one groups of stars on account of the Big Dipper. It is made totally out of the 7 most splendid stars in the Ursa Major, Great Bear, heavenly body. Fact 6. The Sun loses up to 1 billion kilograms a second due to solar winds. Sun-based breezes are charged particles that are shot out from the upper surface of the Sun because of the high temperature of the crown, and the high dynamic vitality particles increase through a procedure that isn't surely known as of now. Additionally, did you realize that one pinhead of the Sun's vitality is sufficient to execute an individual a good ways off of 160 kilometers? Fact 7. The light hitting the Earth right now is 30,000 years old. The vitality in the daylight we see today began in the center of the Sun 30,000 years prior. It invested the vast majority of this energy going through the thick molecules that make the Sun, and only 8 minutes to contact us once it had left the Sun. The temperature at the center of the Sun is 13,600,000 kelvins. The entirety of the vitality created by combination in the center must go through numerous progressive layers to the Sun-powered photosphere before it escapes into space as daylight or active vitality of particles. Fact 8. The Moon is drifting away from Earth. Consistently, the Moon moves about 3.8 centimeters further away from the Earth. This is brought about by tidal impacts. Subsequently, the Earth is easing back in turn by about 0.002 seconds out of every day out of every century. Researchers don't have the foggiest idea how the Moon was made, yet the for the most part acknowledged hypothesis proposes that an enormous Mars-measured article hit the Earth, making the Moon splinter off. Fact 9. We are moving through space at the rate of 530 kilometers a second. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is turning at a pace of 225 kilometers for every second. What's more, the world is going through space at the pace of 305 kilometers for every second. This implies we are going at an absolute speed of 530 kilometers, 330 miles, every second. That implies that in brief you are around 19,000 kilometers from where you were. Researchers don't all concede to the speed with which the Milky Way is voyaging. Gauges go from 131,000 kilometers per second. It ought to be said that Einstein's hypothesis of relativity, the speed of any article through space, isn't significant. Fact 10. If you put Saturn in water, it would float. The thickness of Saturn is low to such an extent that if you somehow managed to place it in a Goliath glass of water, it would coast. The genuine thickness of Saturn is 0.687 g/cm3, while the thickness of water is 0.998 g/cm3. At the equator, Saturn has a sweep of 60,268 plus or minus 4 kilometers, which implies you would require a very enormous glass of water to test this out. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.